Good Erev Shabbos, everybody. I'd like to just take a moment to clarify one issue that's been going on, and that is the time of Motzei Shabbos Maariv. You see, in the past, what's happened is that there's always been two times on our calendar: the time for Maariv on Motzei Shabbos and the time that Shabbos goes out. And it's always been a 7-minute difference. And the way it works is the following. This has been the logic up till now to understand where Rabbi Talabam established this, why we continue in this way, and perhaps some of the differences that are going on now. You see, what happens is that at sunset, according to many opinions, there begins a process called Ben Hashmashos, which is called twilight. There happens to be a fascinating debate as to whether the twilight, the Ben Hashmashos, is at the beginning or at the end of this longer period. The way we generally paskin is that some time after sunset, there arrives a stage called Tzeis HaKochavim, which is night. When that is a matter of debate, and it also depends on locale. There's fascinating shittos, there's fascinating opinions in history, the Vilna Gaon, Rabbeinu Tam. But for our purposes in America, it is interesting that there was an opinion which was here for many years, which was 42 minutes after Shkia, after sunset, is when in fact it becomes night. However, although that opinion certainly was prolific and was adopted in many places, when Rav Moshe Feinstein came, Rav Moshe Feinstein said something very simple, and that is that he believes that Rabbeinu Tam, which was the 72 minutes in Europe, really in a certain sense really is 50 minutes here in New York. He described how halachically arrived at this conclusion, and that became the predominantly adopted opinion in New York and beyond. In America, as Rav Moshe, the Posek Hadar, adopted the opinion of 50 minutes after Shkia. So what do we do in our shul? When it comes to our shul, anything which has to do with a da'oraisa, let's say Shabbos, Yom Kippur, issues which are biblical, we always go with Rav Moshe, which is 50 minutes. So Shabbos will always come out 50 minutes after sunset. So as an example, this Shabbos Parshas Pinchas, sunset tomorrow evening is going to be at 8:27 p.m. And so therefore Shabbos comes out at 9:17, 50 minutes later. When it comes to fast days, when it's a derabanan, when it's a rabbinic issue, then we are makil to rely on the fast ending 42 minutes after Shkia. So for instance, Shiva Sabbatamos, which was last night, when we're talking about it being 8:28 was the time of sunset, so 42 minutes later was 9:10, which is when at Yilk we had the fast coming out. So what have we done in the past? For Maariv and Motzei Shabbos, what we did was, the Rabbi Talabam set it up, is that it's only 42 minutes and change, so 43 minutes after the sunset is when Maariv was set, 7 minutes later is when Shabbos would come out. And that's always been the practice. So essentially we're davening Maariv before we take out the end of Shabbos. Well, over the last period when we've first of all not been in shul, and then we've come back to shul, but right now we're not eating in shul, so we don't even have sort of shlishis, we don't have a shir beforehand, so people are only really coming back to shul to daven Maariv. I felt that it would be appropriate. It seems to me a little strange that we're rushing while it's still Shabbos to get to shul, to daven in shul and Maariv before it's the time we take out Shabbos. It looks a little bit like we're really kicking to get out, we're rearing to go. And we know, as we say in the Zmiros, Hama'achrim latzeis min Shabbos. We try to take it out late. We don't have to take it out later than 50 minutes, but we should at least try to show that that's the end of Shabbos. So I felt it's appropriate when we're not in shul already to go up to, or we're not learning, we're not hearing a shir, and we just start Maariv a little earlier than the end of Shabbos. I thought it was appropriate. Let's wait till the end of Shabbos to daven our Maarivs, because it looks like we're all coming back on Shabbos to daven Maariv so we can get out as fast as possible. So during this time, I think it's especially important during this time that we do extra things. There's something else that we do to show that this period in time has not been for naught. And this is something which I think is a true zechus of the community, that we daven Maariv at the time that Shabbos comes out, which is 50 minutes after Shabbos. When, God willing, we have the opportunity of coming back to shul, we're in shul anyway for Surah Shlishis and for Shiurim and so on. God willing, we'll go back to the idea of being able to daven. We're there in shul already and relying on the 43 minutes for the davening of Maariv as well. But right now, I think this is something which is very important and special that we're doing at this point in time. And the good news is that we've passed the latest of Shabbos. Shabbos are now getting earlier. It was 9:19 last week, it's 9:17 this week, and slowly but surely it is going to get earlier. I think in the schus of those extra 7 minutes that we wait for Shabbos to come out before davening Maariv, I think in that schus, God willing, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishmor Aleinu. Thank you for understanding. And one last point. And that is, if there's a lack of clarity, if there's ever a question which arises, I please recommend that people reach out. Please reach out, ask. There's usually a reason behind things. Things aren't haphazard. And whenever there's a controversy in the community, whenever there's something which is brewing, the best way to resolve it is not through necessarily back-end conversations, but through front-end dialogues. And I welcome everybody to always reach out and to have a conversation, because conversation is the only way to shalom. Have a wonderful and meaningful Shabbos.